Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mahavidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This week we'll look at how to overcome anxiety. Because one of those elements is to endure free of anxiety. We need to learn to live our life in such a way that it is free from anxiety. And yes, at times we have to endure situations which are beyond our control, but we should do that with freedom from anxiety. So how can we do that? First, we understand what is anxiety. Anxiety largely is a fear. It is a fear. And fears are always connected to the unknown. Yeah, an unknown. Uncertainty. That's why a lot of people are scared now, because there's so much uncertainty as what will happen. How long will it last for? How long will it go for? What impact will it have on the economy? What impact will it have on health? Will I have a job at the end of this? Will my children get educated properly? There's so much uncertainty. So fear is almost a knee-jerk reaction towards uncertainty. In any situation where there is uncertainty, there comes this knee-jerk reaction of the mind, and that knee-jerk reaction is actually called anxiety. It's fear, and that fear is called anxiety. Now, what is the antidote to anxiety or fear? There is one specific quality which overcomes fear and anxiety, and that is called faith. Faith is the antidote to fear. Faith can mean trust. Faith can mean belief. But it is the antidote. It is that which kills fear. It doesn't manage fear. It actually kills fear. You can manage an emotion, and then you can eradicate an emotion. Faith actually eradicates fear. But there are various techniques on how to manage fear. Yeah. So now faith, we have to understand, faith in what? Generally, when we say the word faith, immediately people think God. So immediately we think God. And so people that don't believe in God, they invariably become very skeptical, and then they don't take up to this path of belief, or they give up on the whole concept of faith altogether. But faith is not related only to God. Let's take the word trust instead of faith. Trust and faith essentially mean the same thing. But trust, we know we use in a more worldly context. Faith seems to have a religious connotation to it. So now when I use the word trust, the question is, who do I trust in? What do I trust in? Yeah. And yes, certainly one thing you can place your trust in is God. No one will deny that. But there is something else you can place your trust in, and that is in yourself. To develop faith in oneself, to develop trust in oneself, one's ability, one's capacity, to have greater faith in this can eradicate many fears. This can curtail tremendous anxiety when you have more faith in yourself. And this is what I was wanting to discuss today. How we can have more faith in ourselves, because in this current situation where we're living in very confined quarters of lockdown, our lifestyles have been changed, uprooted so drastically. then yes, it is very important that we learn to recognize and learn to develop more faith in our own capacity to get through these type of situations. So what is the main thing that we need to eventually have faith in? What capacity is it that we need to recognize, develop, and enhance? And that is our capacity to adapt. It is our adaptability which we have to recognize. It is our adaptability that we have to have greater trust or faith within. My own capacity to adapt to this new situation. So, adaptability, the ability to conform to different situations, and not just conform for the sake of survival. Can you conform in such a way that you can thrive? One level of adaptation allows you merely to survive, but that's very mundane. But there's a higher level of adaptation that allows you to thrive. When we look in nature, the species which is the most successful in nature is not the strongest species. The species which is the most successful, which can outlast extinction, which can to an extent control its own destiny, that species is the one that can adapt. Whichever species can adapt to its changing environment and not just survive, but thrive, flourish, reproduce, enhance its own lifestyle, that species flourishes. So the key to success in a changing world is adaptability. And what we have to recognize is our own capacity to adapt. Our own capacity to adapt. And that's what we're going to explore today. Yeah? How to find out our own capacity to adapt and also to overcome our anxieties. Because a lot of our anxieties are going to be connected to the concept that I can't do this. I can't survive. Yeah? If I lose my job, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to pay the bills. I don't know how to maintain my lifestyle. So a lot of it is connected to a thought that I can't. I can't face this uncertainty. I can't face the magnitude of what may happen. A lot of us are scared that even if we get infected by this virus, I don't know what's going to happen. Will I be able to survive? Yeah. So we have to move away from this I can't deal with the situation mentality to a mindset that I can adapt to anything. I can adapt to any circumstances. I can adapt to any situation, whether it's a situation of health, whether it's a situation of illness, whether it's a situation of isolation, whether it's a situation of being amidst people. But I can adapt to all situations. This is the thought we need to bring forth. Now, how do we do this? We have to start looking at our anxiety, because our anxiety is the one that is curtailing this thought process. It's our anxiety which is not allowing that thought to blossom forth. Yeah. So step one in really dealing with our anxiety is that we have to come to know our anxiety. Yeah? Which means for each one of us, our anxiety is specific. It is specific. Some of us will have financial anxiety over finances. Some of us will have anxiety over health. Some of us will have anxiety over not being able to socialize. Some of us will have anxiety over what will happen to my education, my career. Each person has got a different anxiety, and that's important that we come to recognize that. Yeah. Some of us have anxiety connected not to ourselves, but to our families. That what will happen to my parents? What will happen to my child's education or my parents' health? So we have to first come to recognize our anxiety, and one of those things is to list down the triggers. What are the triggers for my anxiety? So when I feel anxious, what is it that triggers that anxiety? Even when that anxiety comes, one is the trigger. The second one is, what is the main theme? What is the thing you're worried about the whole time? Is it the kids? Is it your parents? Is it your own health? Is it your job? Recognize the main theme of your anxiety. So your main theme and your triggers are going to tell you, what are you worried about? What exactly are you worried about? Yeah. They say that in order to even do this properly, that one can actually set aside time to think on this. See, what actually happens is a lot of the time during the day, we allow this general anxiety to go through our mind, but we never sit down and try to analyze it or look at it through something more critical. And we just allow it to float around as a background noise in our mind without actually dealing with it. And therefore here they say, take a different approach. Actually set aside time to worry. Set aside time to be anxious. So sit down and say, now let me explore. What am I actually anxious? What am I worried about? Yeah, you don't need to stop it. Don't stop it at that time. Allow it to go, but write down the main theme, write down the triggers, become aware of exactly what am I particularly anxious about. That's very important. Yeah. So rather than allowing anxiety to be a general, diffuse cloud of haze that is just floating around with you throughout the day, spend time to sit down specifically and identify that anxiety. Yeah. When you do this, when you sit down and spend time, you now write down all the things you're anxious about. Just write down all these things you're anxious about. And when you write down all the things you're anxious about, you then have to classify them, because there is an aspect of our mind which is very powerful, and that is called the power of imagination. And our power of imagination can sometimes take fears and expand them into dread and terror. Yeah. It can take very ordinary, small anxieties and all of a sudden push them into something absolutely Herculean, like a Herculean task to overcome. Enormous, overwhelming. And this is because imagination gets added to fear. And this is why we have to start recognizing which one of these fears is imagination and which one of these fears is realistic. Yeah. And that's what we'll see even in ourselves. You take a simple example where all of a sudden, yes, there is very much, for a lot of people, there is a realistic fear that you may have a level of job insecurity. You may have to take a pay cut. You may lose your job. We can say that fear is real. But then what happens? The mind starts drifting off to the next thing. And the next thing will be, oh, if I don't have this money, then how will I afford my lifestyle? Even that could be real. But then we can go from, if I can't afford these lifestyle and provide all these things to my family, oh, my family will suffer. And when my family suffers, they will hate me. They will look down upon me. They will disrespect me. They will think, what type of provider? You can't get anything done. And all of a sudden, they will stop loving me. And then they will abandon me. And then they will leave me. And I will be by myself. Your fears can go to this end. They can go to this end that people will not love me. People will not care for me. People will just abandon me. Why? Because you lost a job. A job at the time of financial crisis, a global financial crisis, and you lost the job, and you feel like your family will abandon you. Yeah? You feel that society will look down upon you. Yeah? Many of these things, losing a job can be real. Not being able to sustain current lifestyle, that can be real. But when it starts transitioning into my family will stop loving me and I'll be abandoned and live in isolation, that can be imagination. That even my family will suffer can also be an imagination. They don't need to suffer. Suffering is a state of mind. They may not get all the comforts they want, but they may not suffer. Yeah? Taking your child from a private school into a public school doesn't mean the child is suffering. Yeah? And so this element is the imagination. But there's an element that is real and there's an element which is imaginary. And it's that we have to catch. We have to catch that imagination because it's the imagination which makes the whole situation extremely overwhelming. Yeah? That I'll never get a job back. I'll never be employed. I'm too old. I don't have any skills. I can't do this. I can't do A, B, C, D. I can only do D. Yeah? And therefore I'll remain unemployed for the rest of my life. Yeah? That can all be imagination. So as we make this list, we have to list our triggers, we have to list the main theme of our anxiety. And then we have to start putting next to it, imaginary or real. And whatever is imaginary, you have to do this on paper. Don't do this in your head. You have to write this down. There's an impact it has on your mind. Whatever is imaginary, put a cross through it. You have to put a strike through. Because as you put a strike through anything, all of a sudden it recedes from your conscious mind. Anything you cross out, your mind stops paying attention to. Think about your to-do list. Your to-do list starts with 8 things. Get milk, get bread, vacuum bath, vacuum the house, mop the kitchen. And then as you work through it, you cross it. And once you cross it, you never pay attention to that. Your mind never goes towards that action because strike through, gone. It's like it gets deleted from your conscious mind. And that's what we have to do. We have to write down all our anxieties. And the minute we find this is an imagination, this is an overextension of reality. Yeah? Cross it out. Once you cross it out, all of a sudden, 10 anxieties get reduced to 3. 10 things to worry about comes down to 3. And when you got 3 things to worry about, it's a lot more manageable than having 10 things to worry about. You don't get overwhelmed by anxiety. So this is just stage 1. This is just identifying where is my fear and anxiety and which one is real and which one is imagination. Please, you have to do this on paper. Do not do this in your head. It will not work. Yeah, you have to write this down. It has to become an exercise. And you have to cross out those which are imaginary. Now, when you've now done this, you still have some fears which are there. There's still some fears left on that paper. It'd be wonderful if you could cross out all of them. If you could cross out all those fears, that'd be wonderful. That would be the best. We would then give you a stamped certificate that you are an enlightened master. So if you could cross them all out, well, you got nothing to worry about. There's no need to do anxiety management. You don't even have any anxiety left. So game over. You have won. You're the winner. So now I have some anxiety. I have a few things left over. Now what do I have to do? Now I have to start looking at what's called my self-talk. Self-talk is very interesting because how does your mind create thoughts around this anxiety? What type of thoughts are created around this anxiety? Yeah. And the type of thought that comes around your anxiety will reveal the type of attitude you have towards yourself. I'll repeat that. The type of thoughts that are connected to your anxiety reveal your attitude to yourself, how you see yourself. Therefore, our self-talk and our dialogue, we have to become aware of. Yeah. We sometimes, I'm sure many of us will have things like, this will never change. This person will never change. I'm worried, I'm anxious, I'm frustrated because this child will never change. And because this child would never change, I'm worried they're never going to get through life achieving anything. Because they're lazy, they sit around, and everyone else has to do everything for them. So there is a thought, this child will never change. This thing will never change. I will never be able to get rid of this type of habit. I'm always like this, or the world is always like that. Yeah. This type of thought actually reveals that I am a person. If I've got these type of thinking that I can never change this, I can never change myself, then it's the mindset of a victim. It's the mindset of someone who feels they are very weak and incapable. Yeah. Because a weak person is one who feels they are dominated and controlled by the world outside. The world outside is in charge. And that's why they don't feel that they have any sense of control of their life. Therefore, we use words like never and always. Never and always are absolute terms. And absolute terms cannot be applied to a world which is ever changing. The world is not absolute. So how can you put an absolute term on it? The world is relative, and yet I have labeled it with an absolute term. Never and always. So this type of, you see how the language, the talk that's going on in my head, it actually reveals my attitude to myself. I actually define myself as a victim, and therefore I use language like, this will never change. These people will never change. This person will never love me. This person will never care for me. I'm not good enough. I'll never be able to get another job. I'll never be able to succeed. This was the role. This was my dream job, dream profession. It'll never come again. Yeah. If I lose it, it'll never come again. Yeah. All this is actually a language of a victim. Yeah. And a victim is one who feels that the world controls them. And when you feel that the world controls you, then you will have a lot of anxiety because you have no control over yourself. There's no sense of power. So stage one in self-talk is to identify the language that is going on in my head. How does that reveal how I see myself? How do I see myself? How do I define myself? Yeah. One way to define oneself is a victim. And a lot of us have got this peppered within our personality, that we do feel a victim of some situation, some circumstance. You will find language like, it's not fair. Yeah, you will find language like, why is this happening to me? Why is it happening to me? It's not fair. It'll never change. I'll never get it back. This is all language of victim. Yeah. Now, how do we move? We then have to move to the next level. We're to change our definition. Our definition determines our outlook. We change our definition from being a victim. One level up from victim is be a competitor. Be a competitor. Get involved. Get involved in the race. Get involved in the game. Start fighting. Start playing. Start acting. Get prepared. The attitude of a competitor is that with hard work, I can win. That's the attitude of a competitor. With hard work, I can win this. The dream job, which I worked for 10 years to get, and now I've lost because of this situation, with hard work, I can get that job back. Maybe now for the next 6 months, 12 months, I will have to change my lifestyle. but hard work, I can get that lifestyle back. Maybe I've lost senior position. Maybe I've lost power and control, but with hard work, I can get it back. This is the attitude of a competitor. The competitor is one who believes with hard work, I can win. And because of that, has got more enthusiasm to face life. The competitor has got more enthusiasm than the victim. The victim is waiting for a handout. The competitor says, I will make this happen. Yeah? And if my relationships with people are becoming frustrated or strained, then with hard work, I can change the dynamics. I can change the dynamics of my relationships so that I can get more love in my relationship, experience more peace in those relationships. Not resign and give up and say, this person will never change, therefore it's not worth pursuing this relationship anymore, and quit. Even in a relationship, you have to be a competitor. You're not competing with the person, but you have to recognize that with hard work, you can change the dynamics of your relationship. So that's the attitude of a competitor, yeah? And this attitude is very proactive, yeah? And it gives you a lot of energy, actually, because there's something to do, there's something you can create, there's something you can control, yeah? There's something you can create out of this, and therefore the competitor is always interesting because they will feel they can create their destiny. They can create their future. So this is the second level. We're to go from victim to now competitor. Now, as we compete, what we find is many times I put in hard work. Many times I'm striving, I'm working now against the best of the best, but I don't always win. I don't always get the external outcome that I desire. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. Yeah. Now, the competitor, when they lose, the problem is when the competitor loses, they will experience, a feeling of being disappointed or upset. Yeah. When the competitor loses, they feel upset. And this is where we go to the next level, that actually in the face of loss, in the face of defeat, in the face of insult, I still can be a master of the situation. Because I can still master my response and reaction to this situation. I may not get the gain. I may not get the external acquisition. I may not get the promotion. I may not get the money. I may not get the trophy or the victory. But I can still master my response to this loss. So this is the next level, and this person defines themselves as a master of all situations. I'm a master of my circumstance. I'm a master of my environment. I'm a master of my own destiny. Why? Because I can control my reaction to the environment. I need not cry when I lose. I need not cry when I'm defeated. I can endure loss and defeat, and I can endure them cheerfully. I can endure them with dignity. I can endure them with poise, composure. In this way, the person becomes a master of their own mind. And it's your mind that we need to get mastery over. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is secondary. Yeah? So a person goes from victim to competitor to now I'm a master. Yeah? And there is one level higher than the master. The master still has to exert effort in maintaining a level of control or discipline over their mind. And the level higher than that is when you say, I revel. I revel in the very experience in front of me. I am reveling in joy. I am reveling in sorrow. I am reveling in gain. I am reveling in loss. I am reveling in sunlight. I am reveling in darkness. This person sees every experience as pure beauty. Something that is so unique, something that is so fascinating, that they become fascinated with each and every experience that they go through. They don't classify experiences as good and bad, as things they hate and things they love. They learn to take each and every moment in its fullest manifestation. And every moment is a manifestation of absolute beauty. We tend to associate beauty with light, with color, with joy, with sound, music. But actually, there's beauty in even the opposite of it. Even in darkness, you can be fascinated with darkness. Even in cold, you can be fascinated by cold. Even in isolation, you can be fascinated by isolation. It reveals so much. There is beauty in everything. Yeah? There is beauty in the petals of a rose. There is also beauty in the thorn. That thorn itself, if you look at and observe, what a masterful creation. That in order to protect the rose, the thorn has been created so that animals won't just come and eat the rose before it flowers into a fruit and gives off its seed. Therefore, nature put the thorn there to protect the rose. There is beauty in that thorn. There is beauty in everything. There's beauty in daylight. There's also beauty in night. In night is when the stars come out. And we get to see all the brilliant stars in the sky. And we get to see the vastness of the universe. Because one of those small little specks of light could be a star that is larger than our entire planet. Absolute fascination. Even when the clouds are pulled over, it's like Mother Nature has pulled a blanket over herself. Why? Clouds keep you warm. Cloudy night, warm night. Clear night, cold night. Mother Nature has put the blanket on. She put the doona cover on. Yeah? Any situation you can become fascinated with. And that's the highest level. And in the Shastra, this person is called Vihari. Vihari. One who sports and revels in all situations. And the most beautiful life to see this in is the life of Sri Krishna. In the life of Sri Krishna, we see one who is Kunja Vihari, Madhura Vihari, Vrindavana Vihari, 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 Rasa Vihari. In all situations, he reveled. He was in thorough joy and bliss in all situations. Whether his birth, which took place in a jail, whether he was separated on day one from his natural parents and put into foster care, whether he was raised in the rustic simplicity of with the cowherds living in Gokul, even though he's born of royal lineage, he's a prince. He's supposed to inherit and live amongst palatial luxuries, yet his entire upbringing is in a village. And even in that village, there are descriptions of this in the Bhagavatam. It's so beautiful. Sri Krishna is walking with his elder brother Balaram. And as he walks through the forest, he says, Balaram, look at these trees. They are so enamored by you that actually they have their heavy fruit is weighing their branches down. And it's like those branches are doing namaskar to you and offering their fruit to you. Such beautiful imagery is there that a tree that is laden with fruit is now bending over to do namaskar and offer its fruit. Even in this way, he sees so many things. And through that life and charitra, especially the Bala Charitra of Sri Krishna, you come to see someone who revels in simplicity. How to have that vision that I revel in all. And in the Shastra, you will see this. This is given as the nature of the enlightened person. The enlightened person is one who revels in all situations. Ramate balon matavat eva. Revels like what? Like a child. You know, children can be fascinated with the most simple things. Huh? A little toddler, a little child, if you dangle keys in front of it, that's it. Half an hour can be done in that. Somebody recently sent me a nice video of their children playing in the leaves. You know, called autumn. Now in Melbourne, it's autumn. All the leaves are falling, and the children are picking up and throwing all the leaves all over themselves. And it was such a joyful video to watch. I was walking in the park the other day, and there was a lady, and she had, it must have been a 2 or 3 year old boy, very small boy. And he was standing, it had just rained. There was a massive puddle. And the boy is standing in the middle of the puddle and just stamping his feet. And the mother was just sitting there watching. She was actually watching it. Most people, when we see our children walking through, we're coming near a puddle, say, oh, avoid the puddle. Don't go near the puddle. Walk around the puddle. Don't get wet. You get cold. You get this, ABC, and all our wonderful fears come out of just a puddle of water. This mother had this little child, and this child was just running, and he'd run outside the puddle and go back into the puddle, and then stamp. And it was such a fascinating thing to watch. I was on top of the hill watching this thing, and I was in absolute delight just seeing a child revel in a pool of water. Every other person walking on the path would find it an inconvenience. Why? Trying to walk, and now the path is inundated with water. So many things that we see as inconveniences to life. Actually, if you just look at it through the eyes of a child, there can be absolute fascination. Absolute fascination. And so with this attitude that I can revel, I am reveling in all situations, all aspects of life become fascinating. Good health is fascinating. Illness is also fascinating. Time with people is fascinating. Time alone is also fascinating. Daylight is fascinating, but even darkness is fascinating. That person learns to find happiness in each and every situation. This is the highest level. So in this way, we can change our self-talk. Change our self-talk, and most important, our definition, how we define ourselves. Let us move away from being a victim, and you have to move one step at a time. You can't go from victim to Kunja Vihari. You can't make that transition. If you've got a strong victim mentality, become the competitor. Get involved, get actively involved, put forth your effort. Stop resigning to fate and destiny so helplessly. Create your destiny. Now, Gurudev would say, actions of today are your destiny of tomorrow. Create your destiny of tomorrow. So from victim, I become competitor. From competitor, I become master. And from master, I revel. Yeah? This is the way we change. As we change our definition of ourselves, we change the entire way we see the world. We see the world completely different. It's all about changing how we see ourselves. So self-talk. Let us start changing that self-talk. That's one way to start conquering anxiety. Stop living helplessly, hopelessly, waiting for a handout, waiting for things to change. You create whatever changes you can. You control whatever you can, and you learn to enjoy whatever is in front of you. And this way you will find a lot of joy in very simple things. In each moment you can find joy. Okay? So now we have done analysis. We have now started changing the way we see ourselves. We have changing the way we are defining ourselves. Now we have to start entering into the field of action and changing our behavior. I might come out of this talk now and you might say, that's it. I want to see myself as the master of situations. I want to see myself as one who revels in all situations. I want to see myself as the competitor who's in the game. But now we have to start by actually changing our actions. So here we have to start taking up small acts of bravery. Small acts of bravery. Why is it called bravery? Because you have to face fear. So small acts of bravery is now the third component in managing or dealing with anxiety. What does that mean? Take up something that whatever is causing you that anxiety, yeah, you now take up step one in dealing with that. Yeah. Say I'm having anxiety or frustration with family members because of the way we are all currently living and the dynamics are causing me tension. Start with step one, and step one is a peaceful discussion. Not passive-aggressive behavior in the kitchen. Passive-aggressive behavior in the kitchen is not step one to reconciliation. It is step 20 towards more problems. So we have to start with a peaceful dialogue. Let's go step one. To have that peaceful dialogue, open-minded dialogue, you have to be quite courageous, because as you comment on other people's behavior, guess what? Others have the freedom to comment on your behavior. And as much as you say, you are causing me so many headaches, we have to be willing to listen and hear that I am causing others so many headaches. And that's why bravery is required. And that's why it's easier to be passive-aggressive in the kitchen and just accuse and blame everyone else of not cleaning up after themselves, because it doesn't require anyone to comment on me. It's a one-way blame game where I get to blame the entire world for my sorrows. Now when I have a dialogue with people, I have to get ready. I have a sword, and a sword can strike, but also you need a shield because they'll also strike back. Yeah? So small acts of bravery, whether it's that, well, I've been telling people try something different. A lot of us may have found that we've lost social time, connection with other people, and therefore, you know, some sort of fun we may have lost what connecting with other people. And some people, you know, some people are very funny and they're very humorous. And that's why people like being around them, especially in a social situation, because they make good jokes. They're funny. They can tell a good story. And that's why I tell people now, as a challenge, if you're a person who doesn't know how to tell a story, learn to tell a story. Yeah? If you're a person who doesn't know how to tell a joke, learn to tell a joke. So that can become a very interesting skill to develop now that we are all confined in this small house. Instead of everyone just sitting at the TV, watching Netflix after Disney Channel, after Stan, after whatever the other things are out there, you can now become the entertainment unit. You tell a story and keep your children thoroughly engaged. You tell a joke and make the family laugh instead of making the family cry. Yeah? So these are things which is a very interesting challenge to take up. But you may be a person, no, I've never told a story and I can't tell a joke. Get rid of this mentality that you can't tell a joke. Now is the best time. Better start learning to laugh. Because if we're not laughing, we're going to be beating each other. We're not beating each other, we're going to be crying with each other. So laughter is the best medicine. Therefore, we all need to tap into the inner joker within. The one that can tell a good joke and a good story. Wonderful, a wonderful opportunity. All these small acts of bravery. Face your fears in small doses. Don't take the whole thing head on at once. Yeah, small acts of bravery. You know, even more sincere things would be expressions of gratitude. Yeah. Now is a wonderful time to reflect upon our lives, reflect upon what we have gained in terms of blessings, and now write a letter handwritten. Don't send an email. Write a letter of gratitude to someone. Parents, yeah, it's a perfect time to write a letter of gratitude to parents, to family members, to friends, because now we will feel the impact that friends would have contributed to our lives because we're socially distanced. So sometimes it's nice to write to a friend and see what contribution just their presence made. Sometimes it's not about you helped me move my fridge, therefore I like you. Or you drove to me to the airport 3 times last year, therefore you're a good friend. Sometimes just your presence is very enjoyable. You're very soothing. You're very peaceful. You're very calming to be around. And I've always enjoyed it. I'm sure we'll all enjoy receiving one. But now why don't we attempt putting our own feelings onto paper? For some people, that's a big challenge. You can even write a letter to your child saying how happy they have made you. Don't write about all the complaints and all the things that they're not doing. There's some people, they love writing about that. And I love you very much, but you need to change A, B, C, D. And Swamiji in his lecture said you should also change D, E, and F. Don't write these type of letters. They'll just aggravate and agitate people. Okay? And then don't write happy birthday at the end of that as well. I've also seen birthday cards that are filled with such advice. Yeah? You should be focusing and concentrating on the positives. Yeah? How you have changed my life, how you have enriched my life. You should write a letter like that. Yeah, small step of bravery. Never done it before. Try it out. Yeah. So this becomes stage 3 in dealing with anxiety is small acts of bravery. When you do this, as you start doing this, you start coming to the 4th level. And that 4th level is you start recognizing that I am adaptable. I am adaptable. And this is the key. This is the key. This is the key to overcoming anxiety, is to recognizing that my capacity to adapt and not survive, but to thrive is actually infinite. I have a massive capacity to adapt to all different situations. And as you recognize this capacity that I am adaptable, fear of the uncertainty will go. Uncertainty will remain, but fear of that uncertainty will go. Why? I can't predict the future, but whatever comes, I'll manage. Whatever life brings me, I can deal with it. Whatever the future holds, I can get through it. This mindset starts coming. And as this mindset starts coming, anxiety will go. Because you have a lot of faith in yourself. That I can deal with whatever changes will come. And one of the methods now at this level to fortify and strengthen the thought that I am adaptable and I can manage with whatever the future has to bring me is to look into your past. Look into your past and look into situations where you have undergone massive change. Situations where large external changes have taken place. Migration is probably the biggest one. Migration is where you change your entire external environment. Loss of social network, loss of supports, changes in culture, changes in language. If a person has successfully migrated, they have undergone probably one of the most profound adaptations that is required. And especially a change from east to west. Eastern lifestyle and culture to Western lifestyle and culture is very different. And a person that has not just survived it, but has thrived in such a situation, that person should be thinking that they are the most adaptable person. Mm-hmm. Migration is one. People who haven't migrated, yeah. But in your life, at some stage, you would have had to have undergone a massive external change. It could be a movement from primary school to high school where you lost all your friends. Where all of a sudden you went from a school of 200 kids to 2,000 kids. You went from being the big fish in a small pond to a small fish in a huge lake. And you were completely lost, but you found your way through it. So transition even from primary school to high school to university, university to working life, all of these signify massive adaptations. They are evidence that you are capable of adapting. Collect all these, collect as much as you can. Yeah. Even in work, sometimes we're told 1 month, go to this place. 3 weeks, go to that country. And I'm sure prior to that, many people would have had the thought, I can't be away from my family. How can I not see my little child? How can I not see my wife? How will I travel? But they've done sometimes 3 weeks. Even locally, people have to sometimes go to the rural sector for 3 weeks. In Western Australia, many people are having to work in the mines when they had the GFC. Everyone's work went from the office towards the actual mines. And in the mines, they had to sometimes stay out there for 3 weeks away from family. And there was nothing else out there. I think that isolation was much harder than this isolation. People have gone through that. People have moved countries. People have taken up jobs in different areas. People have lived away from their families for prolonged periods of time. We are capable, and we've all already gone through it. We have already gone through scenarios where we have been forced to adapt, and we have thrived. So collect all that evidence. Go through your life and write down all the situations where you had to adapt, and you did. Because the more you reflect upon this, you are going to be able to inculcate the most powerful thought within you, which is the thought that I am adaptable. And I can survive any circumstance. This is a thought we need to create. Rather than the thought, I can't deal with change. I can't deal with a break in routine. I can't deal with downsizing, downskilling, whatever it is, giving up your comforts. No, you can deal with anything. You are more than capable because you have done it in the past. You've had periods where you've had friends. You've had periods where you haven't had friends. You've had periods of ease. You've had periods of hardship. You've had periods of fun. You've had periods of grind. All of us have gone through it. Please collect the evidence. Put it down. With these 4 steps, you can really overcome anxiety. Yeah? Our first step was identify and target the theme of your anxiety. The second step was change your self-talk from victim all the way to rebel. The third step was small acts of bravery. And the fourth step was inculcating the mindset, I am adaptable. With this, you can build so much faith in your own effort and capacity. And faith is that which overcomes fear. So this is just looking at anxiety purely from a self-effort point of view. This is not even looking at anxiety from the standpoint of God's grace. Faith in more powerful entities. This is just looking at it purely from things within your control and reach. Okay? So with that, there's enough things to do this week. Yeah? You can look at anyone, you can take up all 4 of these activities. Identifying your anxiety, theme of anxiety, changing your self-talk, starting on a small act of bravery, and then listing down all your previous situations of adaptation, yeah, where you have adapted. Okay, so with that, I think we will close the topic of anxiety management. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo